Welcome back, class. I broke this into a separate video because I know this is going to be what a lot of you are working on today, and I wanted you to have a reference for how to do this, because it can be a little bit tricky to remember the steps in order. You should at this point have your take 2 done when you're starting this point, and you're going to come in now and really start to add a little bit of life to your animation for your take 3. And this is how you do it. It's really easy, but it does require that you pay attention to what settings you have on and off, otherwise you're going to screw things up a little bit. And I'll show you how to fix that if you do. Make sure you go click to the beginning in your timeline. And if you take a look over here, we have RMIK, dragger, eye gaze, face, lip sync. Well, immediately we know that lip sync needs to be turned off as far as inputs, because we already have our lip sync built off of a pre-recorded audio input. So I want you to make sure we turn off lip sync. Notice how Chloe has stopped talking as I talk, whereas if I turn it on, she now responds to my audio. So we're going to turn that off. We're actually even going to turn off the mic entirely by clicking on the mic icon here, just so we don't get any audio recorded, even if the lip sync isn't recording. That is actually really important. You've got to make sure that mic is off. But you do want to keep your webcam on, because now we are going to add a little bit of animation to Chloe. I'm going to actually turn off eye gaze and dragger. So Chloe flicks up my blinks and stuff, but she doesn't, as I look around, she's not picking that up. I actually want to do that as a separate take. So all we're going to do at this moment is I'm going to do some pretty subtle, think about it as pose to pose. When you're animating or you look at an animated show, they're not moving like this. And that's kind of the temptation when you first start animating. You're like, oh, something's going on and I'm not really doing anything. So I'm just going to like lean back and forth like this the entire time. That looks weird. You don't want to do that. You want to really keep it pretty subtle and think about it pose to pose, like, oh, interesting. So that's so, right? In an animation, they're always moving kind of pose to pose. Chloe's not an insanely complicated puppet, so she doesn't have the ability to recognize, like, when I go to a 3/4 or a profile style view, like some of the other puppets. In fact, that made her do something super weird when I did that. But we're going to do a little bit of like, hey, what's going on? Hi, guys. You know, that kind of animation. So when you're ready, you make sure you're back at the beginning. And then you just hit the record button, making sure only face is armed and all your other behaviors have been turned off, or your motion tracking has been turned off. Let's hit record.
You did it! You did it! It looks amazing! Look at that! That looks like what you would buy from a store. Look at all this floor space. So many robots in here. So many activities. Step class. It's making my head spin how many activities we can do. Play Army Man? Yeah. This is how we do it. Hey, I never asked you. Yeah. You like guacamole? Oh! Run! Oh, God! Run!
Okay, so I got my recording done there. One thing to keep in mind as you're doing this, if we zoom out a little bit, you can see, especially right here, ooh, this is one that has a real issue. So the Chole take actually goes way longer than the actual audio. So I'm going to need to click this, bring that all the way in. This is something you do want to pay attention to on all of your takes. Nothing should go past the audio, otherwise you're going to have this long section of your movie where nothing happens and it's just like characters standing there kind of dumbly. And you don't want that. It also makes your video huge, and I don't want to have to deal with the file sizes. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's take a look at how that looked.
You did it! You did it! It looks amazing! Look at that! That looks like what you would buy from a store.
Okay, so we got some basic animation going on there. Let's zoom in a little bit. Notice now that what we have is we have our lip sync audio input with Vizeem's track underneath the Chole puppet, so we can actually scroll that down or up. And then we have our audio track down there. And then I have a face camera input as well. So now this is my track where I record face camera input. There's a couple of neat things you can do. Like, say for instance, You know, we're scrubbing through here, and right here, I feel like, actually, at this point right here, I actually want to be like, whoa, over here. Well, let's do this. Now let's take a look at how that looks. You notice at take 3 from camera input got inputted above this. This is going to look a little weird to you, so watch. Ooh. Notice that big jerking motion there? That doesn't look good, so we got to actually smooth it out, which is really easy. You can see there's this little thing at the top there. Right at the top corner, we can do that, and we can smooth in and smooth out that action. Now take a look at it. Look how nice and smooth that was. It's awesome. So it actually allows you to add in adjustments to your acting that you're doing at any point in time. You can also move it around. So I could take it, I can move it over here and say, well, actually, I want, oops, you know, maybe I want it actually right there. Or I want it a little longer of a hold of that position, right? We got all sorts of different options. Right, so you can always go back and do a couple different takes, and you can add little bits of action into your take. The other thing you're going to want to deal with is right here on this side. We have what are called your triggers. We've got a whole ton of them. I'm not going to ask you to use all of them. I do want you to play around with, you know, for instance, we got the upset mouth, which is trigger 6. Oops. So we could turn that on or off, depending when their triggers are actually recording. So I believe it is a pressing the 6 button. Yeah. So if I press 6, it'll change her mouth to upset. So that might actually be really great into that part where like the crash happens. He's like, ah, ah. And then we can change her mouth to the upset mouth, right? That would be the perfect time to do it. If that's kind of matches your audio. So let's play through. I know that's a little bit later on. Okay, so right about here. So right there's where the big crash happens. And I'm going to turn off face. I'm going to leave on triggers. And I'm just going to put this one in right here. Did that actually go in? Looks like that one's having a little bit of trouble. Let's try a couple of the other ones. These ones are more sort of basic big body movements. These are a little easier to do. So let's start with hands on hips. Just by pressing Q. And we're going to be recording triggers and record.
You did! It looks amazing! Look at that! That looks like what you would buy from a store. Look at all the floor space. So many aerobics in here. So many activities. Do step class. It's making my head spin how many activities we can do. Play army man. Yeah. This is how we do it. Hey, I never asked you. Yeah. You like guacamole? Oh! Oh, God!
Okay, and we've added a few little arm movements in there. I'm playing around. You could actually spend a lot more time fine-tuning those, but you know, go back to the beginning, play through it.
You did it. It looks amazing. Look at that. That looks like what you would buy from a store. Look at all the floor space. So many aerobics in here. So many activities. Do step class. It's making my head spin how many activities we can do. Play army man. Yeah. This is how we do it. Hey, I never asked you. Yeah. You like guacamole?
And the really cool thing is, as you get better at this, you can actually put in so many more triggers. Like there's a whole trigger around changing the lid positions, and so you could really go in there and do like some, you know, like scared eyes, scared mouth, happy mouth. all sorts of different like sort of triggers, all based upon key inputs that you can build into this. So once you've done all that, once again, same thing as before, you're going to go File, you can export it via Adobe Media Encoder. It's going to take a moment, making sure that just like the last time, you put last name, first name, underscore Chole Take. In this case, it would be take 3. This is your final take for your practice ones. And once again, YouTube 480p SD. Press play and you encode that in. Once you have reached the point where your scene with Chloe is done, you should also be at the point in your project where you're finishing the final touches on cleaning up your character design, the one with the torso and arms. And then next week you are going to spend doing a fully realized little scene using your character and your audio you've selected now that you've kind of got a little bit of practice. So that's what you're working on today, and good luck.